good morning or good afternoon or late in the night when some of you work. I see some of you are submitting work at 12 or 1 in the morning, which is fine. I'm a bit of a night person myself, so I understand that. I just wanted to go over a couple of things. One would be participation in our check-in. It's been pretty good. It's about half of you, which is about what I've been getting. I've been getting about half or so participation. We're looking at ways to try to increase that participation. There's an old saying that you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's true. I've had horses, and you can't make them do anything they don't really want to if they really didn't want to. So it also reminds me of one of my favorites. I like quotes. I heard a couple the other day. There was a Mark Twain one that I heard. It said, how did it go? There are two important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you figure out why. I like that one. That was from Mark Twain. And more of an anecdote, Walt Disney was giving a story one time about painting a fence with his father. And they painted the side of the fence, a wooden fence. They painted the side that they see. And he was painting that fence, and they did a good job. And they were painting the other side of the fence that was where they wouldn't see, but the neighbors would see the backside. And they were going and going, and young Walt Disney was not doing that great of a job. And he said to his dad, well, it doesn't really matter. This is the other side of the fence. We won't even see that. And he goes, it's just, like our neighbors. And he said, that's why it's even more important to do a good job on this side, because it's not what we see, it's what everyone else sees. This side of the fence represents what our work is like, what our work ethic is like, what we're like, because that's what we're presenting to everyone else. And I always thought that was interesting. A way to look at things is, young Walt was only looking to see what his side of the fence, what he saw was, important to him. But his dad told him, it's the other side of the fence, what you present to others is interesting. And I kind of look at this as the work you're doing here. I want to commend about half of you for doing what you should be doing, even though there's no one there maybe watching, or maybe you do have a parent or someone, but some of you I know are doing this on your own. And you're doing what you should be doing because that's what you should do. You feel it's right. You care. You care about your education. You care about yourself. You care about your life. And you're doing what you should be doing. So you're painting the other side of the fence really well, what you show others. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's out there doing what they should be doing. I appreciate that, and I recognize it. Speaking more specifically, recognizing things, question 15 about the rungs of the ladder in the DNA model. I'm not really sure why that got in there. Operator error on that, putting that in there. Question shouldn't be in there, so sorry about that. But pretty good job on the rest of this. Pretty good. Some of you struggle a little bit, but that's understandable. This is a strange format to try to learn something new. And speaking of that format, I got an email from Mr. Mahalik today about some maybe changes coming at the board meeting tonight, which is going to be streamed live, I believe, on the Crestwood Facebook page. They're talking about, the email said about transitioning to more live classes, maybe using the Google Meet option here. Maybe that's what they're talking about, but it was alluded to maybe some live classes coming to the Crestwood District, which would be great as far as I'm concerned, because it's I think it would be a more like our natural class where I can see you, you can ask me questions, you could talk to me, I could talk to you in real time, I could explain something, you could say, I don't get that, and it would be, I think, a good step in the right direction. So hopefully that comes through tonight at the board meeting, and we can move that way. So for today, if you have not done the meiosis, you should finish that up. If you're listening to me, you probably already did. And our hope would be, the email said April 20th, we may start live classes. So that would mean by Monday, we can get into this meiosis stuff as a group. You could ask me questions. I could talk to you. I could ask you questions. You could answer them. It would kind of a little bit like we had before. Also, I'm putting in your classroom this form, and it was Corona thoughts, some thoughts you have on this. And the idea is I'm interested in how this is affecting you, positively, negatively. I'm generally interested in you. You're my students, and I would do this profession if I didn't care about my students. So I generally care about how you're doing here, and I want some feedback. And I also maybe could use this as a tool for you to help other people. So basically, you'll see the questions on here. And then lastly, the last question on here is, can I share any of your thoughts in our next podcast? You can do this. You could say yes to some of the answers, yes to some of the answers, no. Yes, you can share my answers, but don't use my name. Just because I'm interested in your responses, but I've also thought that if you had some good thoughts, you had some positive things to say, you found ways that are helping you both educationally or emotionally, or just some fun things you think you're doing and positive things you found, if you want to share those and you don't mind me sharing them with your classmates, that might help someone else, because doing this class is helping you, but it's also helping me because it gives me something to do, something to think about, and that helps me going through this as well. I know it's cliche that we're in this together, but we really are. We're helping each other. So I thought maybe we can help each other a little bit. One, you can share your thoughts with me, and I can better understand how this is helping you or hurting you, and just give you some idea. The first question is, what is or are some positive outcomes? I mean, there is some positive things here where I've got to spend some, even more time with my family. I've been walking in the neighborhoods and I've seen families out in the yard playing catch and making up silly games, and little kids drawing chalk on the driveway, and parents interacting. And I walked the same route each time, and I didn't see a lot of families out there together. And this has been a positive for me, where I've seen people together more. And I've also seen people with more perspective. Nobody really cares about what Kardashian's wearing what, and who's feuding with who, and things that we thought were really important because we had it so good. Things aren't important. What some basketball player wears walking into the stadium, nobody cares because it's just not important. And maybe things weren't that important, but we had it really good, and some things that we thought were important really aren't. So getting some perspective, I think, is a positive. Some biggest frustrations and disappointments. I really miss coming to school every day. I miss teaching you. I miss the energy of being around you and listening to you and observing you. That's definitely a frustration and disappointment in having a regular school year and having you go through that whole cycle of coming to an end of a year, and that excitement that comes with the warm weather coming and spring sports and field trips and all those things. Those last couple of days of school where it's just all those things. That's a big disappointment for me. What do you miss about life before all this? For me, just that normalcy, that everything was okay. Not everything was okay, but I know I'm not foolish, but it seemed like I realized we had things pretty good. And I miss that just sort of normal, everyday life we had, where we can get together in big groups and travel and all those things that we just can't do now. Has any good come of the situation? I think there has some good. I think we have gotten more perspective on things. I picked up a few new skills, like learning how to do some audio things that I've never done before. I've always wanted to. So that's been good. So just if you feel comfortable sharing some of that, I would appreciate it. And if you want me to share some of yours either anonymously or with your name, I would love to do that, because maybe that would help someone else out. Maybe you have some good ideas or good thoughts. So, all right, that's it for today, and I hope all is well. Tomorrow is the second half of our virtual field trip into Central Park. All right, everybody.